No Light, we've got Vermont, we've got New York, we've got Brazil in the house, we've got lots of countries represented in the States, and this is my world. This is Mia's World. Welcome to my world. Welcome to Mia's World on City World Radio Network. We've got a wonderful show tonight and a special guest, Maurizio Zottarelli. Pretty sounded like that pretty well, right? So we'll be talking to Maurizio about his latest album, Upside Down Looking Up, and his recent album, Seven Lives, and about his life and his wife, Milene, who's a singer on some of his albums. Hi, Milene, it's Mia. And his son, Luca, and lots of other things. But first, welcome to Jade Zabrich, my wonderful engineer and singer-songwriter who just got back from South by Southwest. Amazing. And let's just go through what we heard. So the lineup of the medley that we start our show with every week, based on who was born that day or events associated with today's date being March 19th. So first we heard the beautiful Carl Susdorf ballad Moonlight in Vermont, which is my theme song, followed by a short version of the a cappella quadruplet 18-year-old wonder family, vintage mix, who will be performing at Carnegie Hall this Sunday in a wonderful concert, which I'll talk about in a minute. But first, that was Vintage Mix doing a little segment of Moonlight in Vermont, followed by Eliane Elias with Samba Triste. Her birthday is also today, March 19th, followed by the amazing jazz musician Lenny Tristano. It would have been his 100th birthday. He was born March 19th, 1919, with You Don't Know What Love Is, composed by Jean DePaul. And then Maurizio picked Led Zeppelin, so that was their Stairway to Heaven. And then followed by Jimmy Dorsey and his orchestra with Green Eyes. And that was because March 19th, 1941, that was recorded. That was a beautiful Green Eyes composed by Nilo Menendez. Then we had the great Nat King Cole. It's the centennial of Nat King Cole's birthday, which was March 17th, 1919, with When I Fall in Love, Victor Young composer, gorgeous. And Marion McPartland, the wonderful jazz pianist, born March 20th, 1918, with Harry Warren's There Will Never Be Another You, followed by vibraphonist Joe Locke, whose birthday was yesterday, March 18th, born 1959, with Billy Joel's Just the Way You Are. Hope to get Joe Locke on the show one day. And then the great Bill Frisell, guitarist, born March 18th, 1951, with Brian Wilson's Surfer Girl. I love that song. And then Ruth Pointer of the Great Pointer Sisters, born March 19th, 1946, with their hit I'm So Excited, followed by Rock Lobster, the B-52s, with rock guitarist Ricky Wilson. And Getz Gilberto's album, the famous Getz Gilberto album, which premiered March 18th and 19th of 1963 with Joe Beam, with Desafinado. And then Maurizio Zottarelli's famous guitarist in the house here, Maurizio's Waiting for Spring from his Seven Lives album. Beautiful. Since we are waiting for spring, desperate to have spring come around. It's pretty cold out. And then we heard a little bit more of the great a cappella group Vintage Mix with Moonlight in Vermont. And now I just want to tell you about this concert, Carnegie Hall, this Sunday, March 24th at 2 p.m. It's vocal arranger Deke Sharon of Pitch Perfect fame. He's bringing his all a cappella concert called Total Vocal back to Carnegie Hall. Deke Sharon, the father of contemporary a cappella, presented by DCINY, which is Distinguished Concerts International New York, presenting Deke Sharon and his 5th annual Total Vocal concert at Carnegie Hall, including highlights with De Cappella, Disney's new a cappella singing sensation, plus Vintage Mix. They are just adorable. Vintage Mix, they're savvy, they're sophisticated, they're charming. 3 females and a male, all related because they're all quadruplets, and they were on my show, the a cappella group of 18-year-olds, and we love them. So that's this Sunday at Carnegie Hall. And by the way, DCINY, the Distinguished Concerts International, they really affect lives of listeners and just anyone who does or doesn't play music through the power of music. They do lots of empowering educational programs, and this is just about a cappella, beautiful a cappella, and swinging a cappella, and all kinds of wonderful a cappella. That's this Sunday, Total Vocal with Deke Sharon, Sunday, March 24th at 2 o'clock in Stern Auditorium, Perelman Stage at Carnegie Hall. So try to get there. And let's see. Now, on to my fabulous guest tonight is Mauricio Zottarelli. Mauricio is Grammy nominee for the Eddie Daniels project, which was nominated in the Latin Jazz category. Is that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Mauricio is Brazilian-born, but New York City-based. Drummer, composer, bandleader, arranger. He was a finalist in the 23rd Songwriting competition. I'm condensing my words because I'm trying to go through all this. With 2 songs, Samba Pra Mi, which we're going to hear, and the other one was Open Road.
Open Road,
right?
Uh-huh.
So before anything else, maybe we should hear some of Samba Pra Mi, which is won you a finalist spot at the 23rd Songwriting competition sponsored by, who is the 23rd Songwriting competition is that an international?
Yes, it's
the USA Songwriting competition.
I think it's the biggest, from what I hear, it's the biggest songwriting competition in the U.S.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. That's pretty amazing. Jazz Times and Downbeat has called Zottarelli superb, outstanding, dynamic, and extraordinary. But let's stop the words. We'll hear a little bit of your finalist winning song called Samba Pra Mi. To Mauricio Zottarelli's Samba Pra Mi, which means...
It's kind of a funny story. Mi is a short for my wife's name, Mileni, and so I wrote this song for her. But it's funny sometimes because of the way I pronounce, or or maybe I translate. I was trying to talk on an interview once, and the interviewer thought I was talking about samba for me, which would mean that I wrote the samba for myself. So
right.
it got into that thing of, oh, wait, no, this is, it's a little
so
weird.
Funny, that's funny.
So that's me. It's actually a short for Mileni, so it's a song I wrote for her.
Mileni is
and
wife,
and she's
singing
featured
on
exactly.
this?
She's featured on the song as a vocalist.
Okay, well, maybe we'll hear that on our way, so we can hear more of her. Maybe that's the last thing we'll be playing tonight. Now, this is from your latest. First of all, you went to Berklee College of Music and you moved to the United States in 1999 when you won a scholarship.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But you studied computer science?
I did. Right before coming here, I went to college in Brazil for computer science.
Wow.
And, about 2/3 into the course, I was like, oh, I like this, but
not really.
I started performing with groups more consistently in Brazil, and I just fell in love with the life of playing music all the time, which I was already at home and practicing, but once I start playing regularly, I was like, this is what I want to do.
This is it, right? were your parents from musicians? Or?
Yes, my dad played keyboards at home, so my early recollections of maybe being 7, 8, 9 years old and kind of playing percussion with him. And
because a lot of times parents don't want music for their kids' careers.
Well, my dad had that philosophy of having a plan B. So my plan B was actually my computer science degree, which I kind of, I still love computers and I spend a lot of time on the computer, but I don't really use that degree in a sense. I like to say that it was a great time to learn how to study, and I made great friends for life in that college, but apart from that, music was really my call, I think.
That's wonderful that you decided to follow the calling, because otherwise you don't want the regret later.
I did finish. I had to bring my dad the diploma. And I'm like, okay, I'm ready now.
Jade's smiling. We all know what that feels like.
No,
I know. I got my library degree. Same thing.
No, but they were very supportive. I can't thank
wonderful.
them enough for everything they did.
That's wonderful. You're hearing a little bit in the background the more parts of Sambar Prami. So I wanted to talk about your latest album, which is called Upside Down Looking Up. Mm-hmm. And in reading about this, it's such an interesting story about a little bit. All I'm going to say is that you said it had to do with moments in life when a person feels completely overwhelmed with everything that's going on.
Right.
And you're looking for a solution. And it sounds like you're almost like a life coach, But tell me how that happened, that whole concept.
It was interesting because I started doing the record in 2014, was the first original recording session. I started writing music for this record in 2000, as back as 2012. But I didn't really have an idea of what the record was going to be. I just wanted to record some stuff and have some new music to perform in shows. The material started taking shape, and then 2014 we did that recording, but I kind of put it aside. I was involved with other projects and other things. So around 2016 I had a couple of other songs written out, and then that idea started coming together of just being overwhelmed. I had recently become a father myself, and I had some issues. My dad was a little sick and eventually passed as the record was coming out. So we had the family stuff, and I started having some physical issues myself, some pain, and on my back pain, neck pain. It was hard to play, and I was spending so much time on the computer writing, producing the record. So I felt overwhelmed, and then one day it kind of hit me that could be the message of the record. Like, with so many people go through these moments, be it family,
universal.
Personal, just feeling upside down, when the world is upside down.
Yeah.
The looking up part, it has to do with when we're upside down, when things are crazy. Most of us look up for a solution, be it religion, be it the universe, or praying, whatever it is. But if you're upside down and you look up, you're looking down.
Right.
So you're looking further down.
It's very.
So it's all
very profound.
The record is all about changing our perspective. Hitting that moment where you have to look for a new perspective in life and change ways and change paths.
Your whole approach, possibly, or the way you're thinking.
And that's the record for me. But that came towards the end of it, which is interesting.
That's so interesting.
And everything was tying
came together.
Yeah.
Even the album, the CD itself, the word up is upside down, and up and looking is upside down, and then your name, Mauricio Zottarelli. And so if you turn it upside down, you're looking up. But
the record has a, I worked with a brilliant artist from Italy, Max Pelagacci, great photographer and digital artist, and we worked with this concept of every panel of the CD, of the artwork, has something different. that's not right, that's upside down or out of place, because it's even when things are right. Life has that thing.
Turbulence.
There's always turbulence.
Well, that's interesting.
So it's how we navigate through these things.
Yes, and you talk about patience, calm, faith, strength, drive, serenity, intelligence, self-respect, and love are all words that come to my mind when I think about this process of shifting one's perspective. And what was so interesting when I was reading about that was that when I was growing up, my father and I used to look up at the clouds and the sky a lot. And he wrote a whole suite about the clouds and the whole thing about looking up and down and inside and turning towards your soul. It's just fascinating. So let's hear another cut from Upside Down Looking Up, which was written for your son, Luca. And it's very
and that also features my wife on vocals
Corso
too.
Corso is her name, Milene. And this is Luca. Listening to Luca from Maurizio Zottarelli's CD Upside Down Looking Up.
Yeah.
And just let's hear who's playing on this.
Sure. So on the record, I was very, very fortunate to have 10 of probably my most favorite musicians and very dear friends. So we have Hélio Alves on piano, Gustavo Assis Brasil on guitar, Itaiguara Brandão on bass, my wife Milene Corso on vocals, Eldar Jangirov on keyboards, Oriente Lopez on... Oriente actually plays piano, flute, and accordion throughout the record. Klaus Miller on piano, Mike Pope on bass, Christos Rafalidis, we just heard, playing vibes on this track, and Rodrigo Ursaya playing saxophone. So it's I'm very, very happy that I was able to get all these amazing musicians to participate.
Oh, it's wonderful. And you were talking a little bit about how it all came together in terms of the concept, like Luca is your son, so how you conceived of, no pun intended, of the whole
the piece. Yeah, I kind of and even some other parts of the record, some other compositions there. Once I had the idea of the Upside Down Looking Up and this being a very personal journey of myself, but also a journey that other people could relate. These pieces became almost a little bit easier to put together and write. And Luca's composition, it really was about him, being conceived and being born. And I kind of, my wife and I talked that this song kind of feels like his life. And there's a thing that we do live. Actually, we extend this a little bit. The band kind of fades out and the flute keeps going for a little bit, which is kind of, to me, it's like Luca, we might not be around once he's older. So that's him kind of taking off on his own. But it's,
that's
there's
pretty profound. Are you sure you weren't a philosophy major?
Well, I don't know. I kind of like some of that stuff, but it really, I don't know. It just all kind of, once I had the idea of okay, this is going to be as personal as I can get. And it just became a lot easier. I was struggling quite a bit about how to put together these pieces, and I was writing music just to write and have it. And then all of a sudden, okay, this is what I'm going through. Maybe this could be an interesting theme. And it was, and Upside Down Looking Up came about. And then all the songs that I had already recorded, plus the new ones, they all kind of blend together somehow. It was very interesting for me how
and
that.
You said even at the beginning of the whole album, you backed off because that was about your son and your wife.
Yeah, I mean they are such crucial parts of my life, and even when I was going through, the pre-production, putting the record together, there were a lot of sleepless nights, but a lot of nights. I mean, Luca was months old, so we weren't sleeping anyways, So we were kind of taking turns with him. My wife helped me so much too when I had to work for hours and hours. So they're a huge part of what I do, obviously.
Oh, such a beautiful, beautiful album. Now let's talk a little bit about, the suite. You've got a suite on this album, parts 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
So, how did that come about?
So, interesting enough that was the very last thing I wrote for the record.
The suite?
Yeah. So I think the first tune of the record was the last one. And
well, that's upside down, right?
It's exactly. So it had to be like that. So basically, parts 1, 2, and 3. That's the suite. They are exactly that situation. Part 1 is when you figure out that you're overwhelmed. You're upside down. Things are crazy. You don't know how to navigate through whatever issues, problems, or ideas, or anything that's making you anxious and not certain about things. That's part 1. And musically, that happens. Like the theme comes out with a lot of different polyrhythmic stuff going on. It's crazy. And then I somehow, towards the end of that first part, I twist the rhythm, but it's the same musical motif to show that that's our perspective is kind of changing. We have to kind of change the way we see things in order to get out of the hole, kind of. Part 2 is more of a ballad, which is, to me, is like the meditation part of, or just thinking about breathing and thinking about, okay, how do I proceed? How do I put this behind me, or how do I navigate through these challenges in life, and what do I have to change? So part 2 is more of coming up with a plan. And part 3 is putting that plan to effect. Doing whatever changes, whatever new shifts that we have to do in life. That's part 3. That's how we put that together. So for me, the suite, it's a short version of what the record is. But all the other tracks they have a little bit of a play with that concept too.
Well, let's hear a little bit then of the suite, part 3.
So that's the new cycle. So that's when you're engaged into, you already been through the process of, okay, I need to change this and that. And that's when you put things into
making the change.
Yeah, exactly. Putting things into
action. All right. So this is suite part 3, or part of part 3, Upside Down Looking Up, Mauricio Zottarelli.
Thank you.
This is Mia again with Mia's World, City World Radio Network, and my guest tonight is the lovely, wonderful musician Mauricio Zottarelli, and we've been listening to some of his latest album, I have to look. Upside Down Looking Up.
Yeah.
I want to say looking up, upside down. you know, I talk backwards. I don't know if you knew that. That's a whole other,
I was going to ask you.
yeah,
That's amazing.
That's a whole other world. But
Wow.
we won't get into that right now, but it is backwards. So let's talk a little bit about some of your other collaborations, like the Eddie Daniels project, for which you were nominated. You had a Grammy nomination in the Latin Jazz division.
Sure.
So
That project came about through George Claben, who is the man responsible for the label Resonance Records.
yes.
And he's a great producer. He's got great ears, and he's a huge fan of Egberto Gismonti, this brilliant Brazilian composer. And I've been talking to him. I worked with him on a few other projects with Richard Galliano, with Claudio Roditi. And I remember talking to George maybe 3-4 years ago on the phone, and he was very passionate about this. Man, we have to do this record with Gismonti's compositions, arrangements. And I kept thinking, wow, you won't find that many tributes to Gismonti, because I feel like his versions, his compositions, his recordings are so definite.
Yeah.
He's such a brilliant guy, it's almost like nobody can really touch his stuff. It's brilliant the way it is. So I was afraid of doing it, and then I think George approached a few other people, and nobody really wanted to touch that stuff, because it's almost like sacred a little bit.
Yeah.
And then Eddie was interested, and and he did an amazing job, because some of these pieces are, vocal pieces. And Eddie's such a brilliant artist. He's a great clarinet player and saxophone player. The way he plays some of these melodies. So basically the recording is all, except for one tune of Eddie's, everything is Gismonti. Everything is, all compositions by Gismonti from a period of time.
It's called Bio Malandro.
That's one of the tracks, yeah. That's the record's called Heart of Brazil.
Heart of Brazil.
And it's all new arrangements of Gismonti's tunes, performed by a quartet plus a string quartet. And it was all done live in the studio. The whole record recorded live.
Well, Mauricio Zottarelli, I just want to mention your website is M for Mauricio, Z for zebra, mzdrums.com.
Yes.
Right?
Uh-huh.
And you can find out lots more about Mauricio and his bio. We're getting shorter on time. It always happens in the hour, right? The hour shrinks into very little time. But another of your recent albums is Seven Lives.
Yes, Seven Lives was my first record as a kind of producer, writer, putting everything together myself with the help of brilliant musicians and brilliant friends, doing many different things. But it was my first recording on my name, just like putting it together. I had some collaborations also that I've done. One is called Zig Trio that came out in 2003. Glasses No Glasses came out in 2014 with Amanda Rudza, and another one entitled Musique. It was a collaboration with Gilson Shashnik, a pianist in Boston.
You do a lot of collaborations.
Yeah, because I feed off of other people's ideas, and I love just sharing. That's the reason I play drums.
Yeah. It's like
and,
a conversation.
And Led Zeppelin, and I don't want to forget to thank you for playing some Led Zeppelin in the beginning.
Which one should we hear? De La Praca or The Seven Lives Part 1? De La Praca, you said, means from there to here. I love that.
De La Praca was it's a composition written by the brilliant Dom Salvador.
Let's play that then.
Yes.
Okay, that's number 9, Seven Lives De La Praca, if you see that on there. Okay, let's hear this one from Seven Lives, Mauricio Zottarelli. Yeah, because that's... So that was Maurizio Zottarelli from his Seven Lives album, and that was De La Pra Cá, translation From There to Here, written by and performed by Dom Salvador.
Yes, Dom Salvador, I asked him to perform on the record, and I had one tune of mine that I wanted him to play, but I also wanted to feature one of his, and then he suggested we would play this one. It's one of his originals. So this track features Salvador on piano, Esperanza Spalding on bass. I love her. She's a great friend and incredible musician, as we all know.
Yeah.
And another incredible musician is Rodrigo Ursaya, who's playing tenor sax on this track.
And what was the concept of Seven Lives? Was there a particular concept for that album?
The Seven Lives, I was kind of thinking about how sometimes we can't accomplish everything that we want to do with the limited time in this planet that we have.
Yeah.
So here we
like
go, another
this hour.
Exactly. But it's, the song kind of talks about that, like how, maybe we need more than one life to work out certain things, and
but not 9 like the cats. It's just
but
7.
Yeah, sense too, because of the song has a 7, a 7 count and all that for musicians that are listening. But
right.
But I wanted to play around a little bit with that concept of just try to do enough so we can feel happy and what's the word I'm looking for?
Fulfilled.
Yes,
somewhat.
Yes, but that might not be
possible.
The total goal that we had in mind.
Yeah. That's a beautiful goal. And on one of your cuts, you use the maracatu rhythm?
Yeah, so the Seven Lives, the first track features that rhythm from Brazil. So I basically, in my music, I like to mix a lot of Brazilian stuff with fusion, with jazz, all the stuff that I like to listen and play.
Yeah.
So I feature some Brazilian grooves, but I kind of never do the traditional things. So
that's
some
good.
of
we like that.
The people that like the traditional stuff, they're like, that's not really, you're changing here and there. But I love to mix things up. I think that's,
Oh, and you certainly do. And we're really almost out of time, but I just wanted to mention you just got back from a tour in Italy with Tonino Orta.
With Toquinho.
Toquinho.
Yes.
Sorry. I'm combining Tonino and Toquinho. But you just got back from Italy, so it's amazing that you got to be here tonight.
Oh, thank you. No, thank you, Mia. It's my pleasure to be here. And
you're everywhere. May 9th, you're...
Yes. So my next appearance in New York, even though I live here, it's May 9th. I'm performing a CD release with Reza Khan, who's a dear friend. He's putting out a CD. It's coming out, I believe, in a couple of weeks. But I'm playing also on the 31st at the Jazz Forum with another...
in Tarrytown?
Yes, in Tarrytown, with a dear friend, Sérgio Pereira, who just put out a record that I was, proud to participate on.
Fantastic.
Entitled No Brasil, and we're doing the CD release there.
Fantastic. And it's Mauricio Zottarelli. Thank you so much for being here. It's mzdrums.com. This is Mia's World. On City World Radio Network, and we're going to go out with, speaking of Dom Salvador, the Art of Samba Jazz, which is the Dom Salvador Sextet, and the cut I chose is, I don't know how to pronounce the Portuguese.
Oh, I can do that. Meu fraco é café forte,
which means my weakness is strong coffee, and that is perfect for me. Go out and see the super moon tomorrow, the full moon, coinciding with the equinox, and thank you so much, Mauricio. It's been a pleasure to have you on Mia's World, and thank you, Jade, and here's Dom Salvador. My weakness is strong coffee.